Hello everyone and welcome back to St. Andrew TV. As you can probably tell, I've got my gunfighter attire on, because today I'm going to teach you how to fan a revolver. Now before we get into any of the things you're about to see, I need to preface by saying this is not to be done with live ammunition. So something that looks like this will not be chambered in your gun. That is a good way to get yourself hurt or get yourself dead. Going on the safety part of this channel, this will be done with either a replica or a live firearm that does not have any ammunition in it. And it should be conducted under the supervision of professionals. And if you get good enough, you can maybe move to wax bullets, which are considered less lethal, by the way. So anyway, let's get right into it. We've probably all heard stories about the Wild West. Somebody taking their 6-shooter, slapping the hammer, and making all 6 shots go in a very, very rapid sequence. Well, there are stories that did happen about the fanning of a revolver, but most of them end in a tale of somebody being extremely inaccurate with it because it is a very inaccurate way to fire your peacemaker. Obviously, Western cinema exaggerates the truth a little bit because there's a couple clips of maybe Clint Eastwood or somebody like that fanning the revolver with extreme accuracy. Well, that's just not the case. I personally can fan a revolver. The way I've learned it is DIY stuff. I probably don't have the perfect recipe for total accuracy or control over my firearm, but I've gotten very good at it, and it all came from practicing with an empty gun. Today we're going to do it with a Uberti Cattleman II 1873. I would not do this with my Colt revolver because fanning your revolver is not great for your gun. You can break the mechanisms inside the gun. It wears out your spring for your hammer tremendously fast. So you'd almost have to mod it, which it can happen at a gunsmith, to take the punishment you're about to deal out to it. And like I said, I'm going to do it with the Uberti and not the Colt, because the Uberti is about 5 times less expensive than the Colt that I have. The person I watch on YouTube who does most of the fanning or like trick shots, stuff like that, is Cisco Master Gunfighter. I watch him because he does a lot of cool tricks or like precision shots or speed or like challenges, things of that nature, and he's very masterful with a 6-gun. I think he used a Ruger Vaquero, but he's very talented at it, and I watch him, and that's kind of where I picked up on the fanning of the revolver. Let's get our 6-gun out of our holster. What's the first thing we do? Answer with me. We check if our gun is empty. These are never to be done with loaded guns. I showed you, but I'm going to double check. Thank you. I'm going to turn this way so you can get a side view. How he said he does it, obviously you have to hold that trigger down. You can't fan it as quickly if you pull that hammer back and then have to pull the trigger. So when you fan a revolver, especially a single action army or a clone of a single action army, you're holding down that trigger. That's first and foremost. I've made this error in the past when I was trying to do it, and then I finally got the hang of how to do it. You want to hit that hammer with your first 2 fingers. How I do it is I slap my hand down on the rear sights here so I can feel it. And like I said, after you do this a while, it becomes muscle memory and you'll just snap it without even realizing what you're doing. I send my first 2 fingers down on the rear sights and I can feel the little indent that the rear sights have. And I come back and slide my hand across the trigger. The good thing about the single action army is there's a texture on the back end of the hammer, so your hand doesn't really, it gives you more of a grasp when you're cocking it like that, or in this instance it gives you a little more of a catch when you're sliding your hand across the top of the gun. What we do is we're going to take this at half speed first to give you a better visual of what's going to go on. So when you come back, it's got to be hard too, because the hammer doesn't move that easily. So when you're doing it, you almost have to slap that thing back, and then it's going to come right back up. And that's what gives you the desired effect of firing your 6 shots tremendously quick. Now that we got the fanning part out, what you're doing with your dominant arm is you're keeping your wrist locked because you want that thing on a level plane to hit your desired target, which in my instance is usually a piece of wood that's about 10 yards in front of me or even shorter, because like I said, this is not going to be something that you're doing in accuracy competitions. If you get good enough, you might be able to hit a 4x4 board from about 5 yards and hit it more or less center mass. Keep your wrist locked, and then you start, and I always do it like a quarterback throws a football, kind of give it a tap, kind of get your bearings, and then you, something like that. For the sake of education, I'm going to look down at the gun. So you're slapping your hand down. I'm feeling the indent of the rear sight, and I'm coming down like that. The only issue with this is you slap that hammer so hard, you could potentially start cutting your fingers. I've done it before. The first time I really learned how to do it properly, let me preface by saying there is no way to fan your revolver properly. I guess the most improper, proper way of doing this is like I'm showing you now. Bring that hand down, feel that rear sight, and you come across the back with your index fingers. Get that nice rotation going. And if you do it enough, it becomes muscle memory and it becomes relatively simple to do. Just like so. You can only do this for so long before you really start to feel the effects of you slapping metal, because that's what this is. This is a big hunk of metal. I know that, like I said earlier, Cisco, he actually tapes his index finger and his middle finger and then actually puts a glove on it to protect himself from hitting the hammer so hard. And he's a lot faster than I am and actually relatively accurate for a very inaccurate way to fire a single action army. I just thought I'd show it because it is part of Wild West lore. It is part of the American frontier and, you know, cowboy movies and stuff like that. And it's pretty cool, but definitely not a safe way to fire your gun. This is a scenario where it's do as I say, not as I do. And for the sake of the video, I went out there and I used live ammunition and fanned my revolver, got all 6 shots out, and I think I timed it. It was about at a 1.3. Fairly quick, but not the quickest I've ever seen, and probably not the quickest I've personally ever done. But here is that clip now. Don't blink because, you know, it's pretty fast. Yeah, stupidity comes in many forms. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video today. That is how to fan your revolver. That wraps things up today. At the time of filming, we're at 198 subscribers. We are literally 2 subscribers off from 200. And part of those subscribers now, I don't know if you guys know about them, but they're one of my personal favorites. I discovered them about 3 years ago, and I have not stopped watching them since. It was roughly about the time when Red Dead Redemption 2 came out. And I found this channel named Arizona Ghost Riders, much larger than I am, and they dive into anything Wild West. Santee is the host of that, with his friends that do reenactments and stuff like that. And he was generous enough to come by the channel, hit the subscribe button, and leave some very, very nice comments. Like I said, I've been watching them a long time, and that's my Saturday morning. I get up, I know there's a new Arizona Ghost Riders, I get my cup of coffee, and I sit down and enjoy. He does great work, he does his research, and he makes learning about the Victorian era a whole lot of fun, and I take a lot of inspiration from him and the Arizona Ghost Riders. So yeah, go check them out. They have a lot of videos. If you're looking for a very niche, specific topic about the Wild West, he's probably covered it, and if he hasn't, he's probably going to do so in the near future. It's really a cool thing that he does. Go check them out. As for me, thank you to all my subscribers. Feel free to leave a comment. I try to get back to all of them. And if you're coming across this video and you haven't subscribed, think about subscribing. You're a daisy if you do.
Gravity is just a theory. I'm not a scientist. I'm not, saying I know everything about this, but if you Google it and you see, just to say that gravity is the law and the almighty truth, because Einstein is some sort of a genius when we all know that he is a fraud.
Yeah, that tracks.